Hey everyone, welcome to Time to Thrive. This is your host, Bethany Meadows. No longer is LinkedIn merely a place to park your resume or look for a new job. Today, LinkedIn is a thriving social media platform where you can establish yourself as a thought leader, position yourself for opportunities, and intentionally build a strategic community to support growth. Our guest today started her career as a chemical engineer, obtained her master's in environmental management, and spent 10 years working her way up the Fortune 500 ladder. The recession in 2008 made her realize how essential it is to have a strong community of support. Inspired by several unexpected life events, she took the opportunity to become an expert in how to use LinkedIn to achieve powerful results. In 2018, she launched the LinkedIn Business Accelerator to help business owners turn their LinkedIn into a successful sales funnel. I'm excited to welcome to the show my new friend, Judi Fox.
Oh my gosh, you need to introduce me all the time. That's great.
That's like my DJ voice, and then I forget about it, and I go.
Oh, I love that. That was awesome. Thank you.
Well, as always, when we start the show, we like to have our guests pick a number between 1 and 5, and we'll give you our super random, crazy question.
Let's go for number 2.
Number 2, what is something that you love that is vintage?
Vintage. Well, now we have to go into the definition of what is vintage.
Right. The problem is the older I get, the more that's like part of my life.
I
my
know.
history.
I mean, the only thing I can really think of that is what I would love is just anything that I own that was my grandmother's. So,
yeah.
I don't know if that describes as vintage, but just having an older sweater that I would never find anywhere out in the world. I've never seen a sweater like that before. So stuff like that would be vintage.
Yeah.
If I really want to get cheesy, it's not vintage, but like I think it's so fun looking back and keeping my old sticker book from the 80s. That's not vintage though, but I still have to mention it because it feels very like these are the things that you just want to hold on to. And
my MySpace page is pretty vintage.
Yes, that is vintage. I do. Wait, can you still see your MySpace page?
I went and found it not too long ago, so
I want to find mine. I forget who I picked as my top. I don't know what. Like I remember I graduated college in 1999. So when I started college, I just got email. And I think people forget or they don't realize like, oh, that is a whole different mindset. Like I had to go to use the card catalog at the library for school, for college.
To do research. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Totally microfiche and all that stuff. It was my first job at work. I still had to use the microfiche machine. That is
I saw a video on social media not too long ago where they were interviewing a young lady who was probably 16, 18 years old. And they were asking her, what is, and then they would, name something from, right? Which would be so obvious to you and I, but she was like making stuff up like, well, it sounds like it would be this. It was a really funny video.
I've seen a bunch
because she was so sincere about what she was saying. She just didn't have a clue.
Yes, I think it's awesome. I just bought a t-shirt that has cassette tapes on it because I was like, oh, that looks so cool.
Well, when I know that you speak a lot. You're well regarded as a speaker, especially on the topic of LinkedIn. And one of the side effects of that is that you get to meet all these amazing people. And is there somebody that you were really excited to meet and got like a nugget or a takeaway that you could share with us from that? I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot there with an unexpected question, but.
Oh yeah. I think what I really, and I'll just kind of round up everyone I've met. And I think the biggest thing when I meet other speakers or we have speaker events, we have speaker dinners, those moments, instead of thinking I get some type of nugget, I am more somebody who watches how people interact in the world, how people network. And I would say even just watching how gracious some people are with their time and their energy. A few people that come to mind just from the recent meeting, I've hung out with them before, but it's always great to see them again. So I'll mention like hanging out with Pat Flynn, and how he just operates and just talks with everybody, and how much he shares is very just from a space of generosity coming out of everyone I've really met. I really love Kat Norton from Miss XL on TikTok. I don't know if you know who that is, but
I don't.
these are some people that were just speakers at Social Media Marketing World, and I just getting a chance to talk with a few of them has just, they open your mind, not from a place of exactly what they say to you, but it's more of watching who somebody is and what they do versus what they say.
Right. It can be very aspirational to see the kinds of things that you want to emulate in yourself. So you see that generosity, it reminds you to be generous, you know?
Yeah, and I think it also goes back to, I've heard this quote over and over. It almost becomes hard to recognize where I first heard it, but actions will always speak louder than words. A
Hmm.
lot of times on social media, we get all the words, but when you actually meet up with people in person, you get to actually combine that with their real life actions, how
Such
they
a good
move
point.
through a crowd, how they stop and actually spend time talking with you, how those are actions that cannot be translated through a computer, which is probably why we've had such an amazing time all working from home, but people still also want to feel like, well, let's interact a little bit in person so we can actually match the actions to the words.
Right, for sure. Yeah, on your website, you asked the question, and it actually made me snort laugh a little bit.
Ooh.
You asked the question, do you want to use LinkedIn like it's 2005 or 2022? And that the reason why that's so funny is because it's so true.
Well, now I have to update it for 2023. I
Right.
keep updating it every year.
But it makes a really great point. I mean, LinkedIn is not just the social media platform that it started out to be. Can you share a little bit about the evolution of LinkedIn for, those listening who might have been hiding under a rock for the last 15 years?
The biggest one is LinkedIn did such a good job of branding themselves in the early days as networking with people you know. So if you go to a conference, you're supposed to then connect with people you know. And it became this world of, you really should be knowing the people you're connecting with, because it becomes a space of referral and vouching for people. And I will be blunt. And one of my really, really strong opinions is you should not be referring and vouching for people that you do not know. That hurts your business and your reputation. So when you dial it back to LinkedIn's original 2005 energy, and I remember when I first got on the platform, there is so much early days energy of connect with only people you know, that now to this day, the platforms change. Now you follow and you can connect. You can do both. You can follow and you connect with people you don't know because you need to get to know them. And the world is totally different now. Now we get in cars that are like Lyfts and Ubers, and we technically get rides from strangers, whereas we were never supposed to get in a car with a stranger. So all these things change for how we view connection to people and safety of our network. And I guess the biggest thing I would say is LinkedIn is now a space of you connect and then get to know that you know the person. So just because you're
Right.
connected to somebody on LinkedIn doesn't mean you know them anymore.
Right. Well, that's definitely true. I
Or
have a
how would
lot
I
of
ever get
connections.
connected to you? At some
Right.
point, we had to not know each other.
That's true. Yeah. And what you're saying about LinkedIn early on, as I recall, you actually got penalized if you tried to connect with people and they
Huge.
said, "I don't know this person." They would actually penalize you.
I get messages still to this day that say, "Why are you trying to connect with me?" And I'm like, "Well, I guess I don't now." Like, how
Change
can
my
we
mind.
start a connection without, and so coming across with that suspicious energy nowadays, I don't know what that energy is anymore. I don't even know if the word is suspicious, but like, "Why are you trying to connect with me?" is just not the way the world works now. If you don't want to connect with me, then just don't.
Yeah.
You don't have to be like kind of at me.
Yeah.
Because
Combative.
because how would we get guests on podcasts? How would we get a brand new client that needs to hire us? So I will start from a place of we don't know each other. As long as I don't spam you, which I don't, I think that's where the energy comes from. Like, oh, another person trying to connect with me. You may have to just look at people and give them the benefit of the doubt. And then if they spam you, who cares? I get spammed on Instagram. I get spammed on Facebook. I get spammed on LinkedIn. I don't see the difference of my spam levels on any of these accounts. I get spammed almost the same amount and same level.
Right.
So,
how do you handle all that? Do you just ignore them?
yes, the delete and block button is definitely your friend. And then I guess my other thing is I have shortcuts on my computer where I just have like a little, I don't know, little slash, and I type a shortcut. And I basically auto generate a message that says something like, thanks so much for getting in touch. The best way is, and then insert the direction you want to send them. The best way is to watch my YouTube videos. The best way to get a hold of this information or knowledge. Because most of the time, people just need something or they want to reply. And so I just have come up with some phrases to just move people. I'm like a people mover.
Yeah, I like that. You know, I own a marketing agency, Vertical Solutions Media, and we're always looking for opportunities to position our clients as thought leaders, and not just them personally as the business owners, which is, we do that too, but also the organizations themselves as thought leaders in their industry. How is LinkedIn suitable? We've been talking about the history of LinkedIn and how it's evolved, and it has become now more of a platform of thought leadership. So how is it more suitable now on LinkedIn to accomplish this goal of thought leadership?
I would say what really took off for thought leadership on LinkedIn is a couple of things. First, LinkedIn really elevated this energy that the only people that could create on LinkedIn were thought leaders. That is, again, we're going back to the original concept of LinkedIn because it really does help to tell us why we're where we're at today. So this energy of the only major names like Oprah or Sarah Blakely or Ariana or Richard Branson, those were the only people who had the ability to make long form content, newsletters. They created exclusivity for thought leadership voices, which then translates today to there's a lot of people, the moment you jump on, when they opened the gates to allowing everyone access to all the same tools that all the original blue checkmark accounts had, it immediately gave the impression that you were a thought leader. So I would say it's still early enough that is still a very closely linked perception, having a newsletter, and treating it similar to some of those accounts. I model a lot of the success after the accounts that are thought leadership on LinkedIn already and original thought leadership. So starting from there, I always tell people LinkedIn's like a cargo ship and it's moving really slow. You can still get on the boat. You did not miss it. It's not like a fast speedboat that like Instagram or TikTok or something's just like sped out of the gate. But when it comes to also why LinkedIn has that space now of thinking you can do thought leadership, that's the content that people want to share on there. So if you make a post and it doesn't go very far, the number one metric we're missing, it's not likes and comments. It's actually people sharing your leadership. Leadership to me is shareable. So that base on LinkedIn, when you really hit the shareability, is when you get a ton of visibility on that platform. I hope that answered the question.
It did. Well, let's talk a little bit about community, because I know this is a very important thing for you. And as I've gotten older, I've realized the importance of having a tribe. When I was first starting out my business and working 18 hours a day and homeschooling 5 kids at the same time and doing all the things I was doing, I just didn't feel like I had time to even network, let alone have a tribe, right? And I was
Mhm.
so I often felt so isolated, and I really didn't have anyone I could call to ask a question or vent when you had a bad day, or and so tribes become important to me. So I'm intrigued by this idea of intentionally creating community and what you refer to as long-term social capital. Can you share more about that?
Yes. Again, going back to the original thought, I keep going back to it now that we've started there, but
Yeah,
that energy of referral or knowing who you know, you're just one degree from the right connection sometimes and the right door to open. And many times it's through somebody who is not in your field, not in your industry. And I think we get really when we niche down to the topic, and sometimes we think we forget about all the relationships that just matter for the long term, if that makes sense. The friendships, the friends that you create work can become lifelong networking connections where you would be willing and open to your network having access to them and them having access to your network. And that's where that energy of long-term networking and social capital. I'll go back to if I even think back to some of my early coworkers or bosses or connections, I can't forget them. I won't forget working with them, what it was like to be around them. And if somebody ever said to me, "Hey, do you know so and so from this job 20 years ago?" I'll be like, "Yeah, I know them. Yeah, I would definitely hire them or I would definitely work with them and I would give them a glowing recommendation obviously if we actually work together." So I think we forget how much just knowing the quality of somebody versus just being, oh my gosh, I'm in their niche and I can refer them. I don't know if that makes sense,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I'll just give you a story where there was someone I knew from college going through chemical engineering then, and we kind of came across each other's paths a bunch of times. I then interviewed her for one of her first jobs out of college because I was ahead of her. She then got a job at the same company I worked for, and this was back in the early 2000s. Fast forward to 2018, I launched my LinkedIn Business Accelerator, and she brought me one of my first biggest corporate clients. And that was a relationship that just had light touch points over the years, just keeping in touch and saying, "How's your
Right,
career going? How are you doing? Oh, great, you're moving here. Oh, great, you're doing this." Like just those light moments and touch points. It wasn't like, "Oh my gosh, we need to constantly call each other every single day," but just staying in touch in a very light way over the course of 10 and 20 years can create a door in the future that you never knew that you needed.
right. Be nice to everyone.
Yes.
Because that can work the other way too. In your LinkedIn business or your LinkedIn Business Accelerator program, you encourage entrepreneurs to think of LinkedIn as a sales funnel. And I've not heard that too often. I've heard a few people here lately. I think it's becoming more accepted, as
Mhm.
a sales funnel. But can you share some of the ways an entrepreneur can set up their LinkedIn to actually convert prospects into customers?
Yes. So a lot of times I'll talk to businesses and they'll want to drive traffic to their company, their website, and they'll say, "Well, that's where I need to convert them." And I'll ask them what elements on the website are converting them. So it's either the contact us form or it's the application or something, or it's schedule a demo, especially for a maybe B2B company. So what you're looking at is how can you generate that same link journey on your either company page or on your personal profile? And most likely do it on both places because you don't want to miss out on either place to convert your traffic. So build both as a sales funnel. But when you think about your personal profile, you you get a landing page with all the social proof that you would ever need. The social proof comes with your recommendations are right there. We love seeing them on a website. We love seeing them on your profile. You
Hmm.
just need to highlight them or bring them to the forefront of your experience on LinkedIn. For example, you can feature your recommendations next to featuring a link that would be, for example, a link to book a demo, a link to book a discovery call. Right there, LinkedIn's giving you the featured section, which allows you to move traffic. All the elements of a functioning website live on a LinkedIn profile and live on a LinkedIn company page. It's just a matter of organizing those blocks and moving people through them. So it's a sales funnel.
Well, it kind of it highlights the fact that LinkedIn's feature list has really expanded, especially over the last maybe 5 years. I mean, there's now where you can, your access to doing video and audio messages and, things like that are really help you connect with people on a more personal level.
Well, the other rollout that just happened, there's recent rollouts, even in the past week or two, that have just blown my mind for how you can use LinkedIn and use it as a sales funnel, which is number one, you can now feature as your all activity, you can decide where you want your ideal client to go. So for example, if you make a lot of video content, you now have a page that looks like squares like Instagram. And you can scroll all my videos all the way to the beginning. I don't know if you knew, but before you had to always scroll through all my activity or all of my posts, and it would take you so long. So why would you do it? You're like, yeah, I'm not going to spend an hour scrolling back to her first video 5 years ago. I can get to my first video 5 years ago now because it's just a square visual grid and I can quickly scroll and I'm there in less than 1 minute now.
So cool.
It is really cool, actually, because that allows people I can now scroll back through any top voice, any past person leadership that I emulate and I want to model after success. I love that phrase because you can learn so much by watching what other people do.
Yeah. And actually you had said that earlier about, looking at the pages of people who are doing what you want to emulate and getting inspiration and ideas and learning.
And it doesn't have to be your niche. Like I can learn a lot from just watching how Sarah Blakely makes content and posts and what that looks like. And when I also look at it, I look at the patterns that we create because really all that we're doing is building trust that that I have a very stable leadership tone and voice. So each post you see me make, you're going to trust to like, comment.
Here's my number one pet peeve.
Okay, let's do it. Let's fix it.
My number one pet peeve is people spamming me with messages. And we talked about it a little bit earlier, but there are some unspoken rules of engagement and etiquette that people should be following. What should people be doing to make sure they don't get that spammer title?
So I wish I could fix all of them. I would say first, I come from a space of grace because for all of us, because at some point we've probably all reached a moment where we're like, I need you to see, I need you to know it's important. And then I think the second thing that happens, because I've experienced it working inside corporate offices and businesses where we have meetings and I was doing business development and sales inside of that B2B world, literally for major companies. And since you're being told as an employee that you have to do that. And so I just want to pause to kind of like give a little grace to some of those employees who know that it's spammy and they know they don't want to do it, but they have a boss, they have coworkers, they are sitting around this conference room, and painfully I have sat in those rooms. And you can see my expression because it is so painful to be part of those conversations, knowing that I'm like, that is a horrible practice. The messaging you think is good is terrible. And I have no idea why they can't see that. And sometimes you just don't have a voice at that table, just due through seniority, through politics, through all kinds of things like company politics, you know what I mean? The office politics kind of stuff. So what I will dial it back to to prevent it, if you are sending messages that are me, I can do this, I can help you with this, that's just a bad message, period. If
Mm-hmm.
we don't know you and we're getting I focused, I is in you, the message is all about you, and I don't really give a crap.
Right. I don't even read
So,
the message. So
yes.
yeah.
So, number one, if we can try to just scrape direct messages, especially cold ones that are I focused, just about yourself, you will at least start changing something, or at least that's a micro step you can try to take. So just think about how much you think you're saying, this is a valuable webinar, this is a valuable podcast. It doesn't matter. If they haven't given you any micro yes along the way, it's just spam. It really is.
Yeah.
So what I recommend instead is go for when I say a micro yes, if they have said yes to something and attending an event in the past, you may be able to come back around and say, P.S., like, here's my next one, and here's a way to sign up for future ones so I don't have to keep messaging you. And give them a place for them to decide to say yes to your messages, or a place, but get that first micro yes. If they attend the first one, you have the opportunity only once to turn around and say, hey, you want to come again? And I've also built this way for you to keep saying yes.
Yeah. And join this community.
Correct.
Over here.
Exactly.
You are a master at getting impressions. That's something you're really good at.
I love it.
What are some of your insider secrets to being super visible?
Be shareable. Make your content resonate to such a degree that it is shareable. And when I say resonate, I mean you have to make the person sharing and reposting that content look smart for doing it. So how you phrase that call to action, how you phrase the first line, they will stay so far away from your content. They don't want to push any buttons if it makes them look bad to their boss or their colleagues, or even causes somebody to make a question. For example, if you're trying to say, for example, you're a office or home organization company, and you're trying to make content around the pain point of organization, that content, I will tell people till I'm blue in the face, most people cannot nail pain point content on LinkedIn because it makes them look bad for liking, commenting on it. I cannot like a post that says, are you disorganized and do you wish you were more organized? No, I can't like that, because then my colleagues and my potential future
Think you're
clients can see me
disorganized.
saying,
Yeah.
that's horrible. So you are what we think you like and comment on LinkedIn. It's very visible on LinkedIn what you like and comment on. So number one, period, end of story, you have to make your content make the other person look smart for liking, commenting, and sharing.
Wow, that's a super great nugget right there. I know the goal on social media is engagement, like whether we're on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, the buzzword is always engagement. The likes, comments, the shares, these are confirmation to us that we have somehow resonated with the audience. So how can we create a content strategy that is most likely to grab that attention?
So from the nitty gritty, like boil it down, go back on any channel and see what has ever worked. If you're not starting from scratch, always look back to see what resonated the most with your audience and try to reverse into what was it? Was it the topic? Was it the emotion? Most of the time it's the feeling you gave to the audience. So I would just go back to that, but I would also go back to what format was it? Maybe you're really great on video. Not everyone has to be great on video, but maybe video just really hit it off with your audience. Maybe a carousel post or a slide, they call them slide decks and document features on LinkedIn. Maybe that works for your audience. Maybe text only posts. So think of two categories. Go back in time and look at what was the category type of post, video, text, image, try to repeat that and the elements that went with it and keep iterating to get better and better at it. And then the other element is the emotion. People remember how you made them feel by Maya Angelou, which is this energy that you evoke. Try to reverse into what energy you evoked. If you're starting from scratch, same thing, but maybe go out and look at a peer or someone in a parallel business relationship where you can go look to see what their content is looking like or what they mostly post, because you somewhat become known for a certain style of posting, and that can serve you. A lot of people will jerk their audience through a lot of different content styles. I kind of do because I also want to test. So that's funny. People will try to copy me, but I'm like, actually, I don't do that for my clients. I'm the guinea pig. I'm the fox. I'm the one that's over here moving and doing different things. But a lot of my clients, I will niche them into a certain style because it's more repeatable. It actually creates a better return on investment of their time and energy too.
That's awesome. What would be, I think for a lot of business owners, like any time in my experience working with them in our, coaching program and things like that, is they get easily overwhelmed because they have so much already on their plate and they're busy. And so they're looking, oh, this is one more thing now that I need to do that I haven't been doing. And it feels like they're adding it to their plate. So can we break it down to like some easy first steps that a business owner who hasn't, they're back in 2005 on their LinkedIn, how can we ease them in to using LinkedIn as a sales funnel, as a tool for their business?
I would say the first thing I have to mentally fix for every thought leader, CEO, the best example I have is a venture capitalist I worked with. She definitely allowed me to kind of just come in and shake up any preconceived ideas or concepts, because that is a huge part of why I find and create accounts that are really, really successful on LinkedIn. Number one, you do not have to post all the time. The LinkedIn algorithm could care less. What LinkedIn cares more about and what your audience cares more about is that you maintain conversation each post. So when I say take a break, don't post every week. Don't even care that there is no, oh my gosh, I have to post 3 times this week. Take that pressure off. Don't worry about it. I will take 3 months off of posting and still come back with the same level of visibility, because LinkedIn does not care. They care more about the conversation you had on the last couple of posts and that you maintained visibility versus how often you post. So if that means once a week or once a month, it doesn't matter. And the biggest thing you need to take away is perception is reality at the highest level of leadership. So if we see that you're posting all the time, you start to give a perception that, do you have time to actually do the work or be in the meetings that you're in? Or you're not trying to be a LinkedIn influencer. You're trying to be a thought leader, and a thought leader cannot make every thought important or else we'll tune you out. So think through what you want to elevate to the top and bring to the top, and don't post all the time because we will get burned out on your voice too. So
yeah, that's super great advice. So as we wrap up, I know you have a website, judyfox.com, and it's Judi with an I.
Yes, thank you.
We got to tell people that, Judi with an I, fox.com. Where else would you like people to connect with you?
On LinkedIn.
Learn more about you.
Yes, LinkedIn is the perfect place. I have my profile built like a sales funnel, but that to me does not always mean money. You can subscribe to my newsletter, The Business Accelerator. You can find me on YouTube. I'm mostly all the places. I don't have tons of content out there. Again, less is sometimes more. I have really good 4 videos on YouTube that really go through content strategy, hashtag strategy, company page strategy, and I think just a overall leadership visibility strategy. So that's Excellent. It. All you got to have is 4.
Awesome. We like it broken down.
Mhm.
JudyFox with an
Yes.
I.com. Thank you so much for being
Thanks
here
for
and
having me.
sharing all of your nuggets and wisdom with us.
Thank you so much. I loved it.